All right. Call this meeting to order October 15th, 2024, also known as opening day. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag. All right. Good morning, everyone. Our timing was not great this year. Not only did we have to sacrifice October 1st, but also the 15th, which is a little bit brutal for those of us that are hunters. But nonetheless, we're here and a relatively smooth agenda ahead of us. So commissioners, if you've had a chance to review that, first I would establish that there is a quorum present with all 5 of us in attendance. And if there's no questions or corrections on the agenda, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Tillman.
I would make that motion.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Tillman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. First under tab A this morning is a public hearing for a budget amendment. We've got resolution 25-10-CL-01, Public Safety's Impact Fund Amendment for the capital expenditures. With us this morning is Accounting Specialist Rebecca Romero. And good morning.
Good morning. Yes, so today's budget amendment that I'm requesting is to transfer within the impact budget. So we're going to decrease payroll and increase capital, and this will not affect the general fund reserves in any way.
Very good. I think we will be also taking action on this a little bit later in the agenda as well. Commissioners, any questions on this budget amendment?
Christina has approved it.
Yes, she requested it.
If not, we'll open this up for public hearing. At this time, if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to this budget amendment, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
move to approve resolution 25-10-CL-01, Public Safety's Impact Fund Amendment for capital expenditures.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Rebecca. Appreciate it. Moving right along into tab B, we've got some additional public hearings and resolutions before you this morning. First being resolution 24-10-ZO-01 for the approval of a variance application for the minimum zoning district size for rural residential RR to be 4 acres instead of the required 5 acres from section 5B2 of the 2015 zoning resolution, as requested by Raymond Terry. And with us this morning is Sweetwater County GIS and planner Megan Toomer. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Just a quick introduction. So the 3 hearings that you'll be hearing from me today are all going to be tied together as they deal with the Terry subdivision. We just have some cleanup work to do on the variance for the minimum district size, and then allowing the zone map amendment, which will be the next hearing. So I'll try not to repeat myself too poorly with this, but we've got property owners of Jarvie Ranch LLC and Robert and Kathy Stahl. We're looking at roughly 4 acres down in the Washam area, about 3/4 of a mile west of the end of Highway 530. Thank you, Raymond. The current zoning of the properties right now is agricultural. All of the properties will access off of State Line Road, which is a Daggett County maintained road. And there's planned infrastructure going through the subdivision process for Terry subdivision. As you can see by the map here, we've got Terry subdivision, which is a little bit hatched. So it's 3 lots that are 1 acre apiece for a total of 3 acres. And then the parcel just west of it is owned by Robert and Kathy Stahl. also being 1 acre. While we were going through the subdivision process, we were trying to meet that minimum district size that we have within our regulations and asked that Raymond meet with the Stalls and kind of explain the situation. They were more than happy to get on board after they had a few questions answered. And basically, hey, how is this going to change my property? These are my plans moving forward in the future. What's it going to change with that? They already have a home established on the property and a couple accessory structures. He is looking at potentially building a fairly large shop one day, but within the rural residential zoning district that they're planning on changing everything to. That's not really going to be any change to how the property can be used. It's just more matching all the colors and making some of the smaller properties a zone that it probably should have been a while ago when the parcels got separated out. And the first part before we can get into that is just clearing up the variances. So we will jump straight into the review criteria, and there's only 3 of them. The first being, are there special circumstances or conditions fully described in the commission and board's findings, which are peculiar for the land and buildings for which the variance is sought and do not generally apply to the land and buildings and have not resulted of any acts of the applicant subsequent to the adoption of the zone map amendment. Like I said before, the properties have been, the Stoll's property has been carved off for several decades, well prior to the zoning actually being a plan within Sweetwater County. And as far as the Terry subdivision, that's something that is going to be proposed here today. So really what we're doing is just trying to look at cleaning up everything to make sure it matches all the way through, dotting our I's, crossing our T's. It's not going to change how the property is currently being used and is making more residential property, actual residential property when it comes to zoning at the end of the day. We're very grateful for Raymond's help with getting the Stalls on board as well. Criteria number 2 talks about basically, is this the minimum adjustment or reasonable use thereof in order to grant and accomplish this purpose for which the variance is sought. And since Raymond was able to help us get the Stalls on board, 4's closer to 5 than 3 acres is. So staff does find that to be a minimum adjustment for this proposed variance. And the last is the granting of this variance in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the zoning resolution and won't be injurious to the neighborhoods or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. Staff doesn't find that this will be injurious to anybody. Again, we're just changing zoning to match better use of what the land is currently being used at. And once the Terry subdivision is approved, match the residential nature of what it's supposed to be as well with the smaller lot sizes that are being proposed. We received 3 agency comments back, all of which had no concerns with the variance. And at the October 9th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the P&Z Commission voted 4-0 to recommend the resolution for this minimum district size for rural residential to be 4 acres instead of the required 5. With the staff conditions, and the staff condition is basically tying it to the zone map amendment, which is the next public hearing that we will have. The applicant is present, Chairman West, and that's all I have for this hearing.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate the background there. Any questions for staff on this proposed variance application, commissioners? Any questions for the applicant? If not, we do need to have a public hearing for this. So at this time, if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to this proposed variance application, now would be the applicable time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Jones,
move to approve resolution 24-10-ZO-01 for approval of a variance application for the minimum zoning district size rural residential to be 4 acres instead of the required 5 acres, section B, 5B2 of the 2015 zoning resolution as requested by Raymond Terry.
You have a motion to approve resolution 2410-Z001 by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. We are trying to fix this so that it projects up on the screen. We think it may be the adapter, but we'll see what we can do.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's try it just for, try it now. If it doesn't work, we'll switch it out. It's not staying, it's not holding.
It's not reading it the entire time.
Yeah, it gives up on, it says, oh, I don't see a signal. Okay, that last. Nope, that's what's going on. Stop it. Can we pull it up on a different one?
I think it's pulling up right now.
Let's check, sorry.
That's okay. It's just a PDF.
Stay there for a second. Then I-
Okay,
Good.
I think we're good now.
Okay, we're gonna move right along into item 2 under tab B, which is resolution 24-10-ZO-02. The approval of a zoning map amendment from agriculture A to rural residential RR requested by Raymond Terry. We'll hand it back to Megan.
Okay, sorry about that. You can tell what screen I'm looking at when I'm presenting.
Okay.
So the second public hearing that we're here for is the actual zone map amendment. We're here with the same property owners, Darby Ranch LLC and Robert and Kathy Stoll. Raymond Terry is still the applicant. We're looking at the exact same property that we were as the previous hearing. It's currently zoned agricultural and they're looking at amending it to rural residential. Here's the overall zoning map. As you can see, there's lots of rural residential in the area, more where there's actual people living, whether it be a subdivision or a lot of parcels that have been split off many, many years in the past. And when you're looking at our zoning chart and kind of going from least restrictive to most restrictive, least restrictive is going to be agricultural. It's allowing a lot of agricultural uses, but once you start making the parcels smaller, we don't necessarily want to see 500 head of cattle running on a 1 acre piece of property. So it's more trying to true up how big the size of the parcel is and what it's going to be used for. So right under agricultural is rural residential. So it's the next step down. It's still very flexible with what you can do. You can have up to 200% of the gross floor area of your primary residence for any of your accessory structures. Show your shops, garages, things like that. So just a slight change, but it better fits the use of the proposed property and also with how the Stolls are currently using their property as well. We've posted proper public notice. And we will jump straight into the review criteria, and there's 6 for the zone map amendment. The first being, is this amendment consistent and compatible with the existing comprehensive plan and current resolution? anytime that we can encourage growth and development in an orderly manner, it's going to benefit the economic and social well-being of the county residents. And once this parcel is subdivided as Terry subdivision, it's going to provide at least 3 more lots in which we can build upon. It's also to an area of the county in which there isn't a whole ton of residential land down there. Criteria number 2 is the proposed zoning suitable for the existing topography and creates buildable lots. Through the subdivision process, it is required that there's a stamped drainage plan by a professional engineer in the state of Wyoming. It's required so that historical drainage will be handled accordingly. And this helps to make sure lots are going to be buildable and helps delineate who will have basically be in charge of those drainage ditches once they're installed in the subdivision. Criteria number 3 is the zoning compatible with existing and allowable uses. As we saw in the zone map or the zoning map, there's plenty of ag that still surrounds the property, but there's also a lot of rural residential in the area as well. So staff does find that it's compatible. Criteria number 4, does the proposed zoning demonstrate adequate public facilities, including roads, drainage, potable water, sanitary sewer, police and fire protection will exist or will serve to exist at the time the request of such facilities are needed. Again, adequate facilities will exist for the 3 1-acre lots being the proposed Terry subdivision because of going through the subdivision process. And the Stoles property already has adequate facilities as well. Criteria 5, the amendment shall not adversely affect adjacent properties, communities, or the health and safety welfare of residents of Sweetwater County. Staff does not anticipate this changing anything or having an adverse effect. And criteria number 6, the request conforms with all applicable provisions of this resolution. And since the previous hearing for the variance was just approved, the minimum district size was the only thing that was kind of outstanding on that. So since that's been approved, it now meets all applicable provisions of our 2015 zoning resolution. Received 1 agency comment, again, no concerns. And at last week's meeting at the Planning and Zoning Commission, the commission voted 4-0 to recommend approval of the zone map amendment from agricultural to rural residential as requested by Raymond Terry with the staff conditions. And the 2 staff conditions are again, basically tying it back to the variance that just got approved and also tying it forward to the Terry subdivision. And without going into too much detail, the Terry subdivision, instead of recording the plat right away and doing a subdivision improvements agreement, Jarvie Ranch has chosen to hold the plat hostage to where, because the infrastructure is only looking at around $25,000. You hold the plat, they put all the infrastructure in. Once that's signed off and done within 180 days, then the plat can be recorded. So just putting the caveat out there, if something were to happen and it not get recorded, then the zoning doesn't go through. We have no reason to believe that Raymond's going to do that. He actually plans on having it done by middle of November. So we should be in good standing there, but that's the reason for the second condition as well. That's all I have, Chairman West.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate that. Any questions for the zoning map amendment, commissioners? For staff or the applicant? If not, we do need to have a public hearing for this as well. So at this time, if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to the potential approval for a zoning map amendment as discussed, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
move the adoption of resolution 24-10-0-02 for the approval of a zoning map amendment from agriculture to rural residential requested by Raymond Terry.
Do you have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards? Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I would second.
Got a second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Moving right along to item number 3 under tab B this morning is resolution 24-10-ZO-03. The Raymond Terry final plat for the Terry subdivision. We'll hand it back to Megan.
All right, thank you, Commissioner West. So just slightly different from the last two, but here we're actually at the subdivision phase. So the property owner is just Jarvie Ranch LLC. Again, Raymond Terry is the applicant. And the planned infrastructure with the proposed subdivision is access being allowed only via State Line Road, which is in Utah and will be maintained by Daggett County. Planned infrastructure includes Town of Manila providing water services to each of those lots, and Bridger Valley Electric also providing their power services to each lot as well. And through the Chapter 23 review of the Wyoming Department of Environmental Equality, it's been determined that enhanced on-site septic systems will need to be installed on each lot during the building process when someone comes in for a construction permit. Still in the same area, just off the west side of Washington Road, which is County Road 13. And there's a little bit zoomed in view of the aerial of the area again. And here's the actual plat. So we've got 3 lots, and the furthest east lot is going to be lot 3. The only real thing that I want to point out is it does have a 30-foot easement of Bridger Valley Electric that runs through just off the center of the property. And through the review and comment period of that, we've worked with Bridger Valley Electric, and the only request that they made was adding a note to the plat that says no structures can be built underneath the easement. That's to protect their interest with the power line and everything there. So that note is on the plat and has been something that's been worked out. The lot is still very buildable. I mean, we're looking at 1 acre here. So as long as no structures are there, that's kind of the only a little bit different thing on this subdivision plat. And here's the zoomed in portion of showing where the proposed water services are going to be located and indicating that there will be drainage and utility easements on basically all 4 sides of the lot. It abuts right up to the western border of County Road 13 and the easement that is there, which was something that the Public Works Director and assistant had cleaned up with Jarvie Ranch probably about a year ago now with that. So Raymond's been very helpful in just kind of getting the whole area, make sure it's tied together, and helping the county actually getting an easement through their property for the road down in that area. So the only other thing that's worth just kind of reiterating is, again, access is only going to be allowed off of State Line Road, which is directly to the south. Raymond has submitted 3 access permits to Daggett County. When it comes time for the construction process of any buildings, that's something that our department will need to verify and make sure that the applicant actually goes and follows through with, so that they know where those accesses are going to be located and have been approved by Daggett County. And we will have to have a DEQ permit for the on-site septic system, since it's a requirement for it to be enhanced instead of just a regular one that our local environmental health person can permit. We advertised accordingly and also put it out for agency comments. Really didn't receive anything back. Most of the comments received were during sketch plat, and those have all been addressed. And Alan Adams, our code enforcement specialist, identified that there's proper fire protection in the area based off of the water system that the town of Manila has. It's just kind of kitty corner to where the subdivision's at. So the fire hydrants are actually in Utah, but are accessible for to be used if needed in the event of a fire. All of my comments have been addressed. I was pretty much just getting everything cleaned up and making sure the final plat was ready for recording. The at the planning and zoning meeting last Wednesday, it was also voted for approval 4-0 by the planning commission with all 4 staff recommendations being met. And I'll just go ahead and read those into the record. The first being fees in lieu of being waived by the Board of County Commissioners. The second, Terry subdivision final plat cannot be recorded until all the required improvements are installed and approved by the Sweetwater County Land Use Director and County Engineer. Required improvements needed to be completed are as follows: Town of Manila water taps for service lines to all 3 lots, power to be installed to all 3 lots by Bridger Valley Electric, and drainage ditches to be dug by Raymond as indicated on the final plat and stamped drainage plan. If the Terry subdivision final plat is not recorded by April 14th, 2025, being 180 days from the Board of County Commissioner approval, the final plat will then become null and void, and no extensions will be able to be requested. Condition 3 in a letter that is attached to the resolution that was sent out on September 26, 2024, details the approval process once the required improvements are installed and how to move forward with that, so that not only the applicant and staff is on the same page, but making sure we're meeting deadlines and giving everybody ample time to get signatures and approvals and get down there for an actual site visit to approve the 3 required infrastructure on the property. And because it's going to be slightly delayed, the last condition is upon completion of those 3 required improvements in the approval letter, the Board of County Commissioner authorizes the chairman to sign additional required documents at such time. So basically that's going to be the plat. So once Raymond gets all of that installed, it's signed off by Public Works Director and the Land Use Director, then we can move forward with getting the appropriate signatures from the Planning and Zoning Commission and from the board as well. That's all I have, Chairman West.
Thank you, Megan. Appreciate that. Any questions for the final plat, commissioners? If not, we do need to have a public hearing on this resolution as well. At this time, if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to the proposed final plat for the Terry subdivision, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards,
move adoption of resolution 24-10-0-03 Raymond Terry final plat Terry subdivision.
do you have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Good luck. Thanks, Megan. Moving right along into item number 4 under tab B is resolution 24-10-ZO-04 for approval of a conditional use permit to allow a 39.6 acre gravel quarry on property owned by the state of Wyoming. And we'll hand it over to Sweetwater County Planner Cassidy Brown. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the applicant for this for this conditional use permit is Searle Brothers Construction Company. And the current zoning on the property is agricultural zoning. Infrastructure includes Granger Road, which is County Road 16. So jumping in there to the application summary, you'll see this image, the map that was provided to us by Searle Brothers. It shows the phasing that they're proposing for this mining area. And it starts with area 1, and then that's where they'll begin their work moving westward moving to the east, until they end at area 3. And so what their plan is to use this site for obtaining sand, gravel, just borrow material for construction projects in the region. And they are not proposing to do any crushing or screening on the site. One thing that we did note and bring up is that the proposed permit date they set was from October 1st, 2024 to October 1st, 2034. And the lease agreement that they currently have with the state of Wyoming is valid for 2 years. So that is something that Stroh Brothers is going to be working on, either determining if they can do an extension or if that's a renewable lease. Then the map there also shows the proposed pit features, and it's in greater detail here on this slide, and should be in your packets as well. So here we just have our zoning map, and you can see that the adjacent properties are zoned for agricultural use, as well as the site that's proposed to have the mine on. The properties to the north, that is all within the town of Granger, and so that's their well, that's just within the town. And then here is just another view so that you can see the site at a different angle and just kind of get a better feel for what the features are in this area. We did post public notice, and we've got our site photos from the north, south, east, and west here. And that brings us to the conditional use permit review criteria, which there are 9. First is that we did find that this is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The second is that it shall not adversely affect adjacent properties. The closest occupied structure here is Granger Elementary School. It's a little less than a quarter mile away from the nearest boundary of the proposed permit area. So that is definitely something to take into consideration. However, the rest of the structures in that area are more minor structures, unmanned structures, things that we don't anticipate will be affected at all by this. And we'll get in a little bit later on the actions that Stroh Brothers Construction Company is going to take to mitigate any kind of risk to public health and safety. 3 is that it's compatible with existing or allowable uses of adjacent properties, and we find that it is. The adjacent properties are zoned for agricultural use. 4 has adequate public facilities. Public facilities don't exist for the site because, you know, they're proposing a gravel quarry here, so it's not for public use. However, they will have a job trailer if there's extended jobs. There'll be, you know, shelter, water cooler, portable bathrooms for workers, and then, you know, a generator if necessary. 5 is that adequate provisions for maintenance of the use and associated structures. They did submit a thorough mine plan that provided for the maintenance of the facility, and that's also been included in the documentation provided. 6 is that there are minimum adverse effects to the natural environment. So Stroh Brothers has consulted with United States Fish and Wildlife Services and also Wyoming Game and Fish, and determined that there are no endangered species in the area. And when they are finished working on the land, the areas that have been disturbed, Stroh Brothers will be returning the land to its original state that was there prior to mining, and it will create a habitable environment for the species to return to. 7 will not create undue traffic congestion. Of course, there's going to be an increase in traffic here, but it shouldn't be anything that's too overwhelming for the area. So, you know, depending on the job that's taking place, you'll have your site foreman, operator, 1 or 2 loader operators, and then 2 to 8 hauler operators. But so it's nothing too extensive in terms of additional traffic. There will be signage erected that will indicate that there's heavy truck traffic placed to the north and south of the proposed permitting area. And then, you know, just to ensure that they're limiting any interference with school bus traffic and regular traffic on the road. And then they're going to be granting or ensuring safe access to the county road by putting signage for high-speed traffic traveling on the county road as well. So we'll just caution that there is high-speed traffic on that road. 8 will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. And here's where we get into what Stroh Brothers is proposing for actions to mitigate any effects that there might be there. So this will be fenced to prevent livestock wildlife and anybody who's unauthorized to be entering the permitted area. And then there'll also be gating. And Searle Brothers does not anticipate that there will be any need to use Jake brakes to access the site. So they state that they don't see noise from the site to be an issue. And then there will also not be any blasting that's occurring in the area. So that does help as well. We are still waiting for a couple of approved permits to come back from DEQ. And so those will also be required, but they've been working closely to get those approved. 9 conforms to the zoning resolution. The gravel quarry is less than 40 acres. And so that means that it can be slightly closer. Well, it can be within that mile there to the town of Granger. And so it does conform to the zoning resolution. We received 2 agency comments, all clear, no issues there from them. And at the October 9th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the P&Z Commission did vote 4-0 to recommend approval of this resolution for the gravel quarry with the staff recommended conditions, which we did have 3 there. So the first is that the conditional use permit for the proposed gravel quarry runs concurrently with the required approved DEQ permits. 2, no work can begin on this project until all required approved DEQ permits are submitted to land use staff as listed below. So they'll need the DEQ air quality, water, and land permits. And then 3, the conditional use permit will run concurrently with the fully executed lease agreement for a time of no longer than 10 years from the date of approval by the Board of County Commissioners. And with that, I turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Cassidy. Appreciate the explanation there. Any questions on this proposed conditional use permit, commissioners? I have one. So just being that it's in close proximity to the school and obviously the town of Granger, when we're talking about mitigating, is there any issues or constraints on like dust control, for instance, as they're accessing these pits and driving in and out of it? To just see with the school being right there, that could be problematic maybe.
Sure. That I don't. I'm not positive on that one. I'm sure.
I would say yes, there's definitely mitigation plans. That's going to be part of the DEQ approval
Okay.
process. They're going to have way more stringent requirements than what we will have. So that's something that we're still, I mean, if you go through and look at the mine plant, they do list out some dust control measures and stuff that they're planning on taking. But also since they're not planning on crushing or blasting, that's also going to help with dust control as well.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we do need to have a public hearing for this resolution. So at this time, if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to this conditional use permit application, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
move adoption of resolution 24-10-ZO-04 for approval of a conditional use permit to allow 39.6 acre gravel quarry on property owned by the state of Wyoming Office of Land and Investments.
Do you have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards? Do we have a second?
I would second.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Cassidy.
Thank you.
And the last item, item number 5 under tab B, is the certified resolution to the 2015 zoning resolution 24-10-CC-01 for sections 5C, 5F, 5G, 11D, and 21. At this time, we'll hand it over to Land Use Director Eric Bingham. Morning, Eric.
Hey, good morning. Little musical chairs today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So back in August 20th of 2024, we announced, the commissioners announced an intent to adopt amendments to the county resolution. The 45 days has passed, and so that's what brings us here today, Mr. Chairman. The 45 days in accordance with the Wyoming Administrative Procedures Act. that time period has passed. No comments have been received. We ask today that the Board of County Commissioners certify and approve Resolution 2410 CC-01. And just as for the public of what we're doing here, this is these several different sections were amended because we had to make some clarification language to the definition of single-family dwelling attached, detached, so that a little more clarification, since we did reduce down the size of lots to accommodate some of the housing issues out there with density. And we should have changed that language at that time. Didn't. So now this just goes in and makes those changes to the definitions. And when you change one part of the book, it has a multitude effect. You end up changing other parts of the book too. So that's all this is, Mr. Chairman. It's just more clarifying the differences between a detached, a duplex, and attached structure. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate that. Questions on the certified resolution, commissioners? Do we have to open this one up as well?
We don't have to since we didn't receive comments, but we always do. So just as a precaution.
Very good. If there's no questions on the resolution, we will now open this up for public hearing for the resolution 24-10-CC-01. If there's anyone in line or online or in the audience that would like to speak to this, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
trying to figure out how to word this resolution. Move to adopt the certified resolution 24-10-CC-01, amending sections 5C, 5F, 5G, 11D, and 21 to the 2015 zoning resolution.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks,
All
Eric.
right. Thank you,
Thanks
Mr.
all.
Chairman. Thank you.
Moving right along on the agenda, commissioners, this is going to bring us to the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda. For the last time this morning, if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to address the governing body, now would be the appropriate time. Morning, Mr. Davis.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dave Davis, Sweetwater County Assessor. Just coming to give you an update on the long-term homeowners exemption. We sent out around 500 requests for applications when the form was made final by the Department of Revenue. And to date, we've had 763 applications returned to us. We went out to the Green River Senior Center on Thursday last week. I got about 100 applications. Some of those had been mailed and filled out and then just brought in because we do have to verify the age of the applicant. So they were actually bringing them in so we could do that. We were going to do the Rock Springs Senior Center on Thursday of this week. And then we're going to go to Farson the following Thursday on the 24th to go to their lunch out there as well. So we are doing quite a bit of outreach on this, we're trying to get to our taxpayers rather than our taxpayers having to get to us, especially for the ones in Rock Springs. Those are the ones that I worry about getting on I-80 and coming back over. The requirements for this are over 65 and pay taxes in Wyoming for 25 years and have to live in your house for 8 months. So it is an elderly population that I would just as soon not have on I-80 if they're not comfortable with that. That's why we're reaching out to the senior centers. But I just wanted to give you an update on that and also give you an update on the refund program. The Department of Revenue at the Waco meeting had provided us some of the final numbers. And according to the Department of Revenue, Sweetwater County had 512 approved applications for a total of $368,000 roughly. And the average refund to taxpayers in Sweetwater County was $718. So just wanted to let you know there were a lot of applicants for that. And there was a lot of relief provided and help to people who were struggling with their tax bills. So just informational today, no doom and gloom, no values going down, no anything like that. But I would stand for any questions if you guys have any concerns.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you keeping us in the loop on that. Any questions for Assessor Davis, commissioners? I think we're all waking up still. I'm not sure what's going on. It's been kind of weird this morning, but
This will wake you up a little bit. This refund program is not backfilled. So this is something where that exemption for those people over 65 is something that we will not see that revenue from. Value will be exempted from the tax bill before it's sent, just like the veterans exemption. But the veterans exemption is reimbursed by the Department of Revenue. This is not. We don't have any real good numbers yet. I put some stuff together. You know, if we have 1,000 applications using the median tax bill from last year, if there's 1,000 applications, it could be about $818,000. If there's 1,500 applications, it's about 1.2 million. And if there's 2,000 applications, it's about 1.6. So just so you know, that's what's being not billed because of this exemption program. So, but again, stand
thought
for
you
any
said no
questions.
doom and gloom, Dave.
Well, I lured you in and then smacked you around. So, yeah.
He's over 65. That's what,
Yeah.
oh, no, he just looks, I'm sorry.
Very good.
Well, thanks. We appreciate it.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Well, I have a question, if I may. Okay, an exemption for ag, I know, just explain that rule, if they have a residence on a farm.
Okay, so the way the residential exemption works is it's only for the residential portion of the property. So any of the ag land is not included. So it's up to 35 acres, but it has to be residential land. Ag is not part of this exemption program by rule.
Right.
Okay. So it would apply to the 1 acre that's under the house and the house itself. So yes, those people in Farson will be getting the exemption, just not on the entire property, just on the residential piece.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Dave. Well, appreciate it. Still under county resident comments and concerns. If there's anyone else, this is the last call. Seeing and hearing none, we're going to close the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda. It's going to move us right along into tab C, which is the consent agenda. Before you this morning are 8 items under the consent agenda. First being the approval of the October 1st, 2024 minutes, the approval of the county vouchers, warrants, expenditure approval listing EAL, and the commissioner's report, the approval of bonds, approval of monthly reports, approval of the abates and rebates, the approval of the human service agreements, a request to restaff a vacant position in the county attorney's office, and a request to ratify the CLG letter, protest to the proposed resource management plan amendment and programmatic final environmental impact statement for utility scale solar energy development. Commissioners, I would ask if there's any requests to remove any items from the consent agenda this morning. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Toman,
I can make the motion.
got a motion to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Toman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. I wanted to make one quick comment. I think it was on the monthly report in the clerk's office. There was 1,500 and I think 31 titles issued last month. Which if I did the math right, I don't know how many that would be per employee back there, but that's around 76 a day, I believe. So lots going on. I thought that was pretty impressive. With that, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. It's going to move us right into commissioner comments, and Commissioner Richards, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. After meeting on the 1st, I went over to the Green River Recreation Center and wow, it's like echoing. And joined the library board, the Library Foundation Board, and members of the Greenbelt Task Force for the grand opening of the new Story Walk. What a great project. First book in the installation was Creepy Pair of Underwear by Aaron Reynolds, which just so happens to be one of my grandson's favorite books. So I brought him back the next day and we walked the 3rd Mile Trail while I read the book to him. When the weather's good, they intend on switching out the books every month or so. So I plan on bringing them over to read each book as they're put out. A huge thanks to everyone who was involved in bringing that project to the community. On the morning of the 2nd, I started the day meeting with different parties, including Treasurer Cowan, Events Complex Director Pendleton, Public Works Director Legursky and others to determine if it was feasible to use some BLM land to develop camping for the short-term construction workforces that are coming into the community. We ran into some roadblocks there, but are pursuing some different ideas to help develop more camping spaces at the events complex to fill both that need and the increased demands from events that are using the facility. After that, I attended a housing task force meeting also with Treasurer Cowan as well as Mayor Mickelson and Green River City Administrator Clevenger to discuss more long-term solutions to housing demands their communities are facing. We continue to think outside the box to come up with ideas. We're throwing stuff at the wall, but there's some real roadblocks to spurring growth in the housing inventory, but we'll keep working on it. Right now, it looks like available water infrastructure is our biggest barrier in both communities. So we're gonna work on that. When we got done there, Treasurer Cowan and I joined Grants Manager Marshall as well as SEDC Director McDonald and Land Use Director Bingham in a workshop for our comprehensive economic development strategy. With the support of Uintah County, we decided to invite Lincoln County to join us as a partner in developing the SEDS with the hope that it'll be an even more comprehensive and useful document for our futures. On the morning of the 3rd, I attended the monthly enterprise meeting at the hospital for a presentation by Rob Krieger from the Wyoming Energy Authority on various projects that they are supporting and the process that companies have to go through to leverage funding support from them. They have several energy projects in the pipeline around the state, one of which will potentially see 1,200 permanent employees. It's a great reminder that Sweetwater County isn't the only community in the state that's seeing the impacts of growth. It's a good problem to have, but it does bring problems nonetheless. On the morning of the 4th, I attended our monthly federal partners meeting. Jason Roundy from the Forest Service was there and he gave us updates on work at Buckboard. They hope to start the water project out there in the spring, and they are painting the shade structures on Loop B, which should be done by now. It's been a couple weeks. They're still working on the environmental assessment for the boundary adjustment. One big concern that he has is orders have come down from on high that they had to cut loose all of their current seasonal employees and that no other seasonal employees will be added until further notice. So all their seasonal work is done for the year. Kimberly Foster from the BLM reported the protest period for the Rock Springs RMP has concluded, and they are about halfway through the governor's review. They believe they are on track for publishing their record of decision late November or early December, when the protest file will be made public. In discussing other BLM issues, the BLM has won all 4 challenges to their wild horse management record of decision. 3 of those have been refiled. However, they will manage horses under the published plan while those court cases proceed. That means that a managed herd will remain in the White Mountain area after 586 horses were removed in the recent roundup, and herds will be completely removed from the Great Divide Basin and the Salt Wells Creek areas. The Rollins Field Office will maintain a smaller herd over in the Adobe Town area. The Jackalope project is moving forward. However, NextEra Energy has updated their development plan to consider the expansion of Wyoming's core sage-grouse areas. They are also coping with a hiring freeze at the BLM, as well as expecting a delegation of authority freeze because of the pending administration change, which they say is standard procedure when the presidency changes hands. We also heard from Trinity from Representative Hageman's office, who is working on pushing back against Fish and Wildlife regarding their lack of movement on grizzly bear delisting and pushing back against the administration's wind and solar plan. Once we heard from our federal partners, we discussed changes to the meetings we could make to get more involvement from the federal agencies. As a result of those discussions, we're going to change the format of those meetings in the future by trimming down the invite list significantly and limiting it to entities with cooperating agency status only, so we can have freer discussions and receive information from our federal partners that they couldn't otherwise share. That means we'll be excluding legislators and state agency representatives in the future. Hopefully these changes will encourage representatives of the different federal agencies to participate more, and we can get a lot more information from them about what's going on in their departments. On the 7th, I met with Lincoln County Chief of Staff Stephen Allen to discuss several topics, including our decision to invite them to participate in what will now be a 3-county SEDS covering Southwest Wyoming. They are excited and thankful for the invitation, and Mr. King, Their Director of Economic Development will be their point person on the project. Later that day, I attended the reception for the Wyoming Economic Development Association's Wyoming Working Together Conference that was held here in Sweetwater County. The next morning, I attended a full day of that conference, which included various speakers and workshops. I missed the morning breakout session, however, because I had to Zoom in to attend and testify at the legislature's Joint Minerals Committee meeting that was going on in Cheyenne. They were discussing 25 LSO 0069, which would give communities the opportunity to at least present additional identified impacts to the Siting Council for large industrial projects whose impacts go clearly above and beyond what is currently allowed for under the current statutes, like the Dry Creek project obviously did. I expected pushback from a couple of the representatives, two of which represent parts of Sweetwater County, and one of which represents most of the areas primarily impacted by our two recent local industrial siting projects. I got exactly that from one of them in the form of a tough question about how Sweetwater County spends the additional sales tax revenue it receives during a project. Question I was ready for, and I believe I gave a clear and concise answer to. What I did not expect was for the co-chairman, who also represents parts of Sweetwater County, to completely misrepresent my testimony later in the meeting. I don't know if the co-chairman wasn't listening when I spoke, was incapable of understanding the words that came out of my mouth, or was just straight up gaslighting me when he blatantly misrepresented what I said. I found it to be completely unprofessional and undignified, if not just downright disgusting. I do want to thank Representative Larson for immediately correcting the record and clearly explaining again what I had conveyed in my testimony. Despite some changes in our local delegation as a result of the last primary, and a couple of representatives who continually put their own personal opinions over the real needs of their constituents, costing our communities millions of dollars of impact funds, Sweetwater County still has the strongest delegation in Cheyenne, and I appreciate that. In the end, the bill was narrowly approved by the committee, 7-6. It will see an uphill battle when it gets presented on the floor, but at least it gets a chance to be heard there. When I was done with that fun part of the day, I got back to the conference where I was in time to attend the next breakout session, which turned out to be extremely informational and productive. It was a presentation by the DEQ on brownfield properties and the SPUR program, which is the State Partnership for Urban and Rural Redevelopment. As part of that program, they offer no strings attached phase 1 and phase 2 evaluations of previously developed properties that include environmental evaluations as well as economic studies to determine the feasibility and viability of developing old properties. Treasurer Cowan and I discussed it and requested them to put the old hospital in Rock Springs on the list to determine whether it's suitable to be redeveloped as housing or for other uses. I think there are other properties in the county that could benefit from the review, and I'd like to visit with staff and all of you to get your ideas. It's my understanding that a brownfield has been done on the hospital previously, but with the SPUR program, it opens opportunities to have more information presented. And again, it's no strings attached. It's just information that comes from them. And if it's information we can use, then we all benefit from it. The last speaker of the day was a very good motivational speaker who, unlike most motivational speakers who do their best to rah you into getting more engaged, recommended that everyone does more to take care of themselves first and those right next to them to make sure that they're able to get out and take care of others. So I took his advice and I skipped the rest of the conference and went home and had dinner with my family for the first time in a couple of weeks. The good speaker. I don't think they were happy with the result. The next day I joined the conference again for the first couple of speakers and then broke away and remotely attended the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting where they addressed the applications that we adopted earlier. On the 10th, I attended my first SEDC Advisory Board meeting as an official board member. We received a presentation from our former intern, now contractor, who was retained to provide social media engagement and communication. And we had further discussions about the possibility of contracting for someone to head up coordinating housing development in the community. It's still a discussion in its infancy, but I think one well worth having. Yesterday, I did my monthly radio show on KREO and then spent the afternoon at a DEQ air quality open house over in Rock Springs at the BLM offices. going forward this afternoon, I'll join Land Use Director Bingham and Deputy County Attorney DeLeon for a discussion to review impact assistance requests that the county is applying for. Tomorrow I have a housing task force meeting, a SEDS update, the master planning session with the Fair Board, together with all of you that can make it. And I'll probably attend the Jackalope Wind Project open house. On the 17th, I'll attend the NACO West Region monthly update meeting. On the 21st, I'll visit the library board. I do have a little news there. After a long career, the Community Fine Arts Director, Deb Soule, has announced her retirement as of the end of the year. So thank you, Deb, for the decades of service you've provided and the contribution to the arts that you've given our community. On the 22nd, I have a Fair Board meeting. Good news on that front. Last week, Candy and staff visited with Airstream International and entered into a contract with them to host their 2027 Airstream Rally here in Sweetwater County. So good job, Candy. Vance Complex continues to knock it out of the park. On the 23rd, the Sweetwater Prevention Coalition is providing free community QPR training at the Rock Springs Library on C Street from 6 to 7 p.m. For those of you who don't know, QPR stands for question, persuade, refer. And those are 3 steps that anyone can learn to help prevent suicide. So that's on the 23rd from 6 to 7 at the C Street Library in Rock Springs. I hope anyone that can make it will be there. And we can all work together to put a dent in the suicide rates in our community and save one person at a time. On the 28th, I'll have a combined communications meeting. Then on the 31st, the Sweetwater County Republican Party will be hosting its annual Grand Ole Halloween party at the Chamber Park, starting at 4 p.m., I believe. They'll be giving away free hot dogs, free hot chocolate, and of course, free candy to the trick-or-treaters. And I think many candidates are going to be there doing trunk or treats for kids as well. So it's a great free event for the community. Which reminds me that early voting is going on right now over in the neighboring county clerk's office. So I want to remind all of you that every new election is the most important election of our lifetime. So go vote now if you need to. Get your absentee ballots if you need to. And if you prefer to vote on election day, remember that it's coming up really fast on November 5th. Primary turnout was dismal, and I'd really like to see the people of our community turn out en masse to have their voices heard at all levels of government. On behalf of Clerk Lane, I'd like to remind everyone that other than land records and elections, the clerk's department will be closed that day so everyone can help with the general election. So if you have business in the clerk's office early next month, please plan accordingly. November 5th also brings me full circle to seeing all of you back here for our next meeting. So with that, I think I've covered everything, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry to take so much of your time, but it's been a busy couple of weeks. I hope to do better next time because I plan to spend much of the second half of this month chasing deer. So I am happy to stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate the detailed report there. Any questions for Commissioner Richards? Hopefully you enjoy some time hunting down Big Muley and get a little break from your last couple of weeks. A lot going on there. Commissioner Jones, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the second, I attended the Pulse meeting. Some of the topics covered efforts at the University of Wyoming School of Energy Resources regarding oil, gas, coal, carbon capture, and nuclear. Housing was also discussed by the Southwest Wyoming Growth Planning Group. BLM RMP was discussed by Aaron Reichel. Devin Brubaker discussed the airport, how they incorporate themselves in education. Also, Western Wyoming Community College gave a presentation on industry and career growth. Also on the second, attended the Memorial Hospital Sweetwater County monthly board meeting. Most topics covered are topics I've covered here, reporting on committee meetings, but I would like to mention a couple of things. CEO Irene Richardson shared a story of a patient that she came across inside the hospital, and Irene just asked how the lady was doing and if she needed any help with anything. And the lady said, "You know, you're the 4th person to ask me that. I just love it here, and I love how helpful everybody is." And she said, I would really like to work here. So they sat down and looked at some openings, and hopefully they have a new employee at the hospital. But I think that's pretty telling of what's going on up there with folks being helpful and wanting to take care of their patients. Also, and I think this is incredibly impressive, Betty Dodd was awarded the Outstanding Hospital Volunteer of the Year by the Wyoming Hospital Association. Betty is 93 years young. She's volunteered 4,915 hours, probably more now, in almost 14 years at the hospital. So congratulations to Betty and a heartfelt thank you. It's very impressive and very appreciated. On the 4th, attended the federal partners meeting. Commissioner Richards pretty much covered that one, so I'll say me too. On the 8th, I listened to the Minerals Business and Economic Development meeting held by our state legislators. I would like to commend Commissioner Richards on his handling of the discussion surrounding industrial siting. Commissioner Richards did an excellent job of answering questions fully, even a few that were obviously meant to be gotcha questions. Sadly, I will say Representative Burkhart was far less than professional in his treatment of Commissioner Richards, as was Representative Heiner. I don't know why these two representatives dislike Sweetwater County so much, but they both made it very clear in words and votes exactly how they feel about us. I will also say this wasn't the only time they've been transparent in their dislike for our great county. On the 9th, I attended the monthly WWCCA meeting. We heard from Senator Barrasso speak about the fires, as well as Senator Loomis's office, also Representative Hageman's office. We also heard from Angie Bruce, the new director of Wyoming Game and Fish. She said in the elk fire, they're aware of losing 20 leks of sage grouse so far that they know of. She also mentioned, though, and I thought this was pretty interesting, she mentioned that the Wyoming sage grouse are up 33%. So as we go into the sage grouse plan with the BLM truthfully shouldn't be trying to change anything we're doing. They should be complimenting us and having surrounding areas copy what we are doing. Not sure that's what we'll see, but that's what should happen. She also mentioned that the pronghorn fawn survival in Wyoming is at the highest it's been in 30 years. So that was some good news. On the 10th, I attended the monthly Rock Springs Chamber luncheon where we heard from the Child Development Center. On the 11th, I attended the Memorial Hospital Sweetwater County Foundation Casino Night fundraiser at the college. It was a great night. I'm not much of a gambler, so it was good for somebody like me because we weren't playing with real money. And they also kind of teach you the ins and outs of gambling. I don't know that I'll ever put that to use, but I don't gamble for a good reason. I figure they have those big casinos with all those lights based off of people losing money, not winning. So I prefer to keep mine. On the 14th, I attended the Star Bus Board meeting. The first new bus is being transported or waiting to be transported, I should say. So that's exciting. The second bus is in production. So hopefully in another month or so, it'll be on its way. They are working on selling more advertising on the sides of the buses, working on a feasibility study, and also working on a phone app for consumers to use the bus service. So hopefully that makes it a whole lot easier for people wanting to get a ride. And that'll conclude my comments.
Thanks, Commissioner Jones. Appreciate your report. Any questions or comments for Commissioner Jones? If not, it looks like I'm up next. My report's going to be about 3 times as long as Island's, so bear with me here. Not really. Pretty short one today. I don't know if it's the calm before the storm or what, but it's been a little bit quiet over the last couple of weeks. So that has been a good thing with some other things going on in my other hats. So I've appreciated that. On the 2nd, I attended the retirement party for Jeannie Demas, who served 41 years in the sheriff's office. I believe she stated that she served under 9 different sheriffs during her tenure there. So just wanted to congratulate her on her next chapter of life and thank her for her service and dedication to Sweetwater County. At the time of her retirement, I believe she was the 2nd longest serving employee for the county and 5th overall. Pretty impressive. Tomorrow, I will also be in attendance for the Events Complex's Master Plan Workshop. Sounds like they've narrowed it down to a couple different options. So I look forward to learning more about what the future holds with them. Over the next couple of weeks, I'll have monthly Board of Health and Southwest Counseling meetings. Sounds like Southwest Counseling will be having a special meeting this week to approve the bid on their Jonah facility. This was rebid due to the original bids being over budget. As you recall, they have a grant for those, and the projects were over budget. So they've sent it back out to bid. Sounds like they've got some reduced bids. I think there was some value engineering with that. And so they're looking to move forward. The requirement within that grant is that the bid awards occur by, I believe it's October 31st. So obviously with us not having a meeting before that, we'll likely have to take an electronic vote on the approval of that in order to get those grant fund requirements satisfied. And we'll ratify at our first meeting in November. So I just wanted to give you all heads up on that, to be looking for that over the next week or two. I've got a meeting with grants manager Christina Marshall later today to go over the problematic gambling and opioid settlement money options. As you recall, I think last meeting or maybe the one before, we discussed coordinating with YGAP to see how their services may or may not be beneficial in assisting us with some of those available monies. So we'll work on that and try and schedule a meeting with YGAP to see if we can make a plan, and I'll keep you all apprised of that once we learn more. Southwest Counseling at their last meeting did approve the agreement, which obviously we just approved as well. So that is a positive moving forward. We had a couple minor changes with that, including the 23-hour stabilization program, which is more or less asking them to come up with a plan to see what that would look like. It's not implementing it, it's just coming up with a plan so we can try and focus on that. I worked with John, who put together a spreadsheet on some of the different numbers that kind of got us to that point, and I just thought I would share those with you all. These are year-to-date starting back in March. So from March until present times, they've had 49 people detained, adults, I should say, along with 9 juveniles. So 58 in total. And over half of those were released within 23 hours. So out of the 58 total, 30 were released. And then if you add in 48 hours, 42 of the 58 were released. So throughout all the process, at the end of it, there were 3 patients, or 3 individuals rather, excuse me, that were hospitalized, which I think kind of shows why we're trying to address the need there. Some of these are people that have been released or, step out on their own, and then they come back into the system, and it just doesn't seem like they're getting the continuum of care. And so the idea between the 23 hours to try and provide a resource for law enforcement and, different clinicians and healthcare providers that I guess sort of feel stuck when some of these situations arise. So pretty telling numbers that obviously it's an area that we would like to improve. And so hopefully we can make that happen, but it's hard to argue the data. And so I wanted you all to be aware of that. Aside from that, it's a short report for me, and I would stand for any questions. Not, Commissioner Slaughter, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. First of all, I would like to lodge my formal protest to the fact that you held meetings not only on the opening day of the general deer season, but also on the opening day of elk season. I think in the future you can do a better job of that, but I just wanted to let you know.
I agree.
Following along with your comments, this was kind of a light 2-week period for me also. I didn't have any of my normal liaison meetings, so it gave me some time to catch up on other responsibilities. On the first, along with Commissioner Richards, I was able to attend the Story Walk grand opening. Story Walk is a collaborative effort between Sweetwater County Library, Library Foundation, the City of Green River, and the Green River Greenbelt. It's located on the Barbara Carroll Memorial Pathway at the Green River Rec Center and provides readers the ability to enjoy a book page by page while enjoying the outdoors, as described by Commissioner Richards. I think it will be especially enjoyed by young readers who take the opportunity to participate. I'm sure that there will be many who will enjoy it in the future. On the second, I did take a day and was able to take my grandson deer hunting. He was able to harvest a nice buck, which was really nice. And it was about the most excited young man I have ever seen. So that was one of my best days ever. I was glad I took that day to do that. On the 7th, I spent the morning verifying the account balances for the Joint Powers Board specific purpose tax accounts and answering emails and phone calls. It was a good chance to catch up on some necessary bookkeeping, filing, and conversations that I needed to follow up on. Yesterday, I had my regular discussion with Public Works Director Legursky He reported that things are going well. We have 3 projects out with notice to proceed. We had a 4th bid last week. The Knight property is going through the sub-bid phase. He stated county roads need moisture, and I can attest to that, having been out on several of them over the last couple of weeks. They are turning to dust out there, and we really do need to see some moisture. Hopefully, the end of the week, we will see some of that. He's hoping the forecast for Friday brings in some as expected. Sprinkler lines in all the parks have been blown out and are prepared for the winter season. He also sent a countywide email yesterday on the proper use of county HVAC systems, explaining intricacies that make this system different from a normal home system. He also strongly discouraged the use of individual space heaters and outlined the reasoning behind his comments. Last night, I received several requests for payments on the specific purpose tax. I printed them this morning and will have the requisition sent off to the trustee bank later today. I also worked on the agenda and details of the Joint Powers Board specific purpose tax regular monthly meeting, which will be held next Monday, as I will be leaving this afternoon for my annual elk hunt and my rejuvenation period for the year. That, Mr. Chairman, I would take any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Glad you got to enjoy that with the grandson. That's what the memories are all about. So congrats on that. Any questions for Commissioner Slaughter's report? If not, good luck to you on the next hunt. And Commissioner Toman, floor is yours.
Well, thank you to all of you for working so hard, and especially Commissioner Richards over here. Man, give him hell. Go for it. They're not going to get away with anything with him. Thank you. Thank you. On the second, after our last meeting, I went out into the desert where they had been gathering the wild horses and attended a BLM monitoring for at least an hour or so. They were monitoring to see the impacts on the grass, and it was looking pretty good for as dry as the season had been, and for the fact that there had been 568 horses around that area. That day I was on standby for the airport grants and loan with the state elected officials. I got to listen in and participate with Secretary of State Chuck Gray's questioning, and also with Assessor Christina Racina. She had some very good questions. The next day, I testified before the SLIB, the State Land Investment Board, and our airport did receive a $4 million loan, 1% interest for 30 years, and a $2 million grant, which can't be drawn until they've used up the loan. But great news for getting our airport terminal project completed. So that took up 2 of my days. So then Saturday I headed to the hills and helped ship sheep. Just want you commissioners to respect that ag business, because it's getting tougher and tougher to survive, let me tell you. And as long as you want to keep eating, I don't want to hear any smart remarks either. Okay, Farson is booming with their events. Their senior services are providing lunches Mondays and Thursdays. They have anywhere from 20 to 48 people attending every Monday and Thursday. Great menu and great attendance. They opened their fitness center this week, and so they had a lineup of seniors and also other residents of the community can pay to get in there, but they have every kind of equipment you can imagine in there. So that was very exciting. I posted it on Facebook if any of you want to see the list of all the equipment that's in there. Then in my spare time, I was reading Hillbilly Elegy by Vice President candidate J.D. Vance. It's worth reading. It's hard reading because he had a hard life. But so in commemoration of Library Week, I'll read you a little section here. He said he expected different kind of reactions to the book. He said a respected social scientist told him that a book is like a baby. Eventually it leaves the house and you can't control the way people interact with it. But I found that critics occasionally react to the book in contradictory ways. If I haven't been surprised by the fact of criticism, I have occasionally been confused by that conflict. I've heard, for instance, from someone on the left that my book is a victim-blaming piece of anti-government libertarianism, and then in the very same week from someone on the right that my book's premises, if accepted, would justify a massive expansion of government welfare programs. both of these things can't possibly be true. But he has some great insights on the problems in our society. While we may be able to help alleviate some of the problems, it's a cultural problem. And I just hope people will turn out for the election. I also hope that they'll listen to the debates and try to find the facts and vote as wisely as they can. So I won't read you the rest of the book, but it's definitely worth reading. It's a great read. It's kind of tough reading at the first because there's a lot of hardships that he's dealing with, but he survives in spite of it, graduates from Yale. And one of his comments was the more prestigious the school, they say that the lower class can't attend those schools. He said, that was the best one. It cost me less than a public school or than a college, a state-owned college, because there were so many grants and opportunities available. But he talked about how he learned to interact and figure out society and really become very, very successful. So it's a story of hope, and it's great. It's worth the read. And there's a Netflix film on it also, Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance. Then on Sunday, I attended my mom's 95th birthday party. 100 and some people came, mostly family, but a lot of friends. So that was exciting. And she was very excited for that also. Airport Board upcoming. I have that meeting. I have the Coalition of Local Governments on Thursday and the Young at Heart next Tuesday. So thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Tillman. Happy birthday to your mom. Believe on the airport, wasn't the loan 5 million, not 4 million? 5 million loan with a $2 million.
Was it 5? I thought it was 4.
Pretty sure it's 5.
Well, I'll stand corrected then.
It's only $1 million.
What are millions?
Any questions or comments for Commissioner Tillman's report? All right. Well, nice work all. Busy couple weeks as usual. We are ahead of schedule, which is nice for once. The next item on the agenda is a break, which was scheduled for 10:35, meaning that our next item would be 10:45. So we're just a little over 20 minutes ahead of schedule. So we're going to take about a 10-minute break. Looks like our next presenters are here. We'll resume back at 10:35.
Oh, okay. I always do that. Thank you. Ooh, that's not good, because they were pretty sure that they would get it for cost. I don't see how they can get it for complete. That's not good for us. No wonder he was so excited to talk. Oh. No wonder, I wonder why he sounded so damned excited. Oh, that was. They thought they had him over the barrel and they could get him to settle. Because they'd already threatened to pull out of the state, and so they would have nothing but one building as an asset to go after. Oh, yeah. Which judge did it? Our judge did? Said they for convenience. Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what they say about it tomorrow. Then I'll ask them. Yeah. Oh, cripes. Right. Right. Nasty. Ah.
And then, you know.
Yeah, this is worth reading. Did you? Oh, I want to watch the movie. It's on Netflix. Well, if you watch the movie, you probably got it. Read on it. Read. Well, I'm proud of you, man. You're giving them hell.
So pissed off.
Well, Jones called them out. That's good. I think you should call them out.
So pissed off.
What the heck's the matter with it?
Well, he's retired. So before the meeting, he sent notes out to the committee members that it contained lies too. He sent notes out to the committee members that Sweetwater County commissioners were going around the state bragging that we were getting one over on the legislature with that bill. Well, I'm the only one that would be talking about that bill. I was the one involved in producing it.
No, it's not.
Pretty good. So Ryman was there and pushed back personally.
Thing that you should be out there on
Sure,
opening
why?
day hunting.
That's not true. No. He has a little part of Sweetwater County, but he has Albany County.
These are for like 4 counties. Yeah. What phone call in the?
No, the one you just had during the break, where we were just talking to. Yeah, I couldn't hear yours because you must have been turned away, but I could hear when you were talking.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. So I tried to call Sandy and everybody, and I figured I'd just run up here.
Well, thank you. Good. Oh. Oh. Yeah, cool. Did you see Tommy's little boy on the front page of the Green River Star? That was cute. And he has another little boy. I mean, at the party, I tried carrying that baby around. She said he weighs 20 pounds. He felt like a sack of flour. You know, he was like heavy. Yeah. 2 little wrestlers. Well, the one has a skin on his head already, that one, wrestling, because Tommy said he was trying to wrestle and he's about tore the rug up.
Right.
Yeah, he's a cousin, my brother Bob's boy in Riverton. Brandon's the engineer in
I
Riverton.
don't think so, because I would normally hunt up on Union Pass. And they've got.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's a city engineer. Yeah. Cool. Oh, yeah, I'm connected to all of them. Bob had 12 kids. So yeah. Dick had 4, so. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's some connection. Well, I don't know how, oh, you shut off. Oh, I'll probably shut it off when I'm supposed to be talking. How do you shut it off?
Well, we don't manage it for us, so it's.
The light is still on. It says push, but I don't.
Push
It's back on. Oh, I see. So if I want to gossip, well, I never said anything I hadn't said. I said the same thing I said in the public part. Just to give them help.
Yeah, so fire went through there in 26. More closer to Highway 26. Well, the firefighters slurry bombed the ranch, saved the ranch. I mean, those firefighters were miracles. There was road right on the boundary of their ranch. Some of them, and they said, we slurry bombed your ranch because we can't get in there to fight that. But right there, the dead timbers. Well, they aren't burnt. They were just. So they just completely pulled all their crews out and slurry bombed the best they could. That was the only choice they had.
I was gonna,
No other
comments, I was
tool.
gonna throw a red card at him and ask him if he never sleeps, but I thought better of it. He spoke, he got done,
I've seen a lot of videos from helicopters surveilling, you know, and watching.
You heard him and you hired him. So that's
water
fair.
and whatnot. That's
No, it wasn't Dustin. It was the Dallin from Cheyenne.
really. Really, I didn't hear that.
Raw.
Motivational speakers.
Get in a circle and throw the beach ball.
Yeah.
And some just want to. Ones that all want to leave feeling good. Still on expanding that.
That can be bad. We have no sure deals. That's what led me to get away from the horse ranching. We used to have a guy.
Because you were actually paid for that crap.
And so started out, I was going with two guys. We did a bunch of fake 15. Do it sporadically, and I started with one of my sons. And at the end, it was just my son and I did it.
That's all right. I mean,
Each of us. After about the third time we turned the horse.
we did maintenance on wells.
Last year.
Closing thing
Down
was
on top of
everybody built Lego
No,
projects
usually not.
together. And
As
I'm
they
like,
get closer to the end of the year, they
The
get
son
the end
decided
of the budgets, they run out of money.
should have never.
Get
Lifetime.
next year's
Fuck.
budget put together. And
That's what can't. Yeah, right. I was trying to keep the horse from going over backwards on him, but pulled me right underneath. So I spent the next 13 days up there with bruised and battered. This is probably not for me. I miss it, but there's a lot of.
Well, just like Islander Corner. Normal, but
you open with demonstration change, rah, speech, and then the next time, told a story about how he had started multiple businesses and just figured out his hospital and wasn't paying attention to his wife.
Seen that happen. Saturday morning. Well, so that's good to see you.
the microphones are on. Are they now?
Testing, there we go. Call this meeting back to order. We are back from break. Where we left off was tab D, the action and presentation items. Second item under tab D is the acceptance of the 2024 Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant Award. With us this morning is Grants Manager Christina Marshall, as well as Sheriff Grossnickel and Under Sheriff Tomich. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So Sweetwater County was awarded $13,666.75 from the Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant, which is BVP for short, under the U.S. Department of Justice. So the project requires a 50% cash match, not just cash, but a match, and expires August 31st, 2026. So we have about 2 years to spend it. So the purpose of this grant funding is to protect the lives of law enforcement officers by providing the officers with armored vests. I know this is not as great as a $5 million grant, but I will assure you it's a very important grant for those officers. So the funding will be used to replace currently expired or soon to be expired ballistic vests and to provide vests to new hires. So the total project budget is $27,333.50. We anticipate purchasing 20 bulletproof vests with the funding. And of course, half of it is grant and half of it is match funding. Some notes, this grant award requires a written mandatory wear policy for uniformed patrol officers, which the sheriff's office already has in place. The cash match, what was included in the fiscal year 25 grant projects budget. This funding is federal, so it follows all those good 2 CFR 200 requirements, which is uniform administration requirements, cost principles, audit requirements, and so forth. There is no contract to sign. A reimbursement submission is basically consent that you agree to the terms of the grant. So it's kind of odd how that works. And then I'm sure you're just curious to know that Patrick Leahy was the third longest serving US Senator in history at 48 years, and he actually helped create this program. So I have attached the sheriff's body armor policy in your packet, as well as the award notification. And as you mentioned, Mr. Chair, the sheriff is here if he'd like to add anything else, or if you have questions for myself or him.
Thanks, Christina. Appreciate the detailed background as always. 48 years. Yikes. No, thanks.
The challenge.
Any questions for this grant award, commissioners?
Well, I do have a question.
Commissioner Tolman.
Well, how does an old vest expire? You shoot holes in it or what?
Morning, Sheriff.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Toman, with heat and moisture from perspiration, the Kevlar breaks down.
Oh. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the 2024 Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant Award as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I would make that motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Tolman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Christina. Next on the agenda is item number 3 under tab D, which is the ratification of the Transwest Funds Transfer and Capital Purchase. And back with us is Under Sheriff Joe Tomich. Good morning, Under Sheriff.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. So we're just seeking ratification on the discussion and approval that we had back in late September regarding the approval of moving Transwest funds. So as you probably all know at this point, when Transwest was originally cited, I believe back in 2019, there was $345,018 that was allotted to the sheriff's office to expend on extra patrols of that project area. As you probably know, at this point, the project's about 75% complete, and we have just been able to start expending those funds due to other projects and staffing issues that we've encountered. So we anticipate that during the actual project in the short period thereafter that we will not be able to expend all $345,000 of that. However, we did identify an issue that we currently have in the detention center, which is an issue with the portable radios that our detention officers are issued. So some of those radios are actually older than my career and probably approaching that of the sheriff's career. So they're basically what's happened is the detention center has received hand-me-down radios from the operations side for decades. And much of that equipment is starting to fail at this point, and we've seen that more and more recently to the point we can't have these radios repaired because they're so old. So we're hitting a replacement point with them, and even the ones that are continuing to work are still degrading. So we saw an opportunity to move some of these impact funds from the overtime budget into capital and use that to offset an identified impact that we actually have during this project period. And that so what we would like to do is, and we've actually ordered them now upon the approval of the board, and we're just seeking this ratification today to expend $80,715.17 to replace 30 portable radios and chargers and accessories within the detention center. So that would put them all with new radios, not hand-me-down equipment that we would hope would last another close to what these radios have lasted, which is between 17 and about 25 years.
Thanks, Mr. Tomich. Appreciate the explanation. Any questions on this transfer of funds, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
I just want to point out that Transwest impact funds were awarded under a different system than the current industrial siting program processes we've recently gone through. It was allocated as more of just a strict percentage to the different entities. There's no reporting requirements. So by doing this, we're not going afoul of anything. At the state level, it's totally an internal decision.
Very good. Appreciate that. Any other comments or questions? Not, I'd entertain a motion to ratify the approval and transfer of $80,715.17 in the Transwest Industrial Siding funds from overtime to capital, and approve the purchase of 30 portable radios for the detention center with those funds as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Moving right along to item number 4, we've got the county vehicle bid award. With us this morning is Purchasing Director Marty Durnovich. Good morning, Marty.
Morning, Commissioners. So in your packet, we're looking to purchase this year for our vehicle fleet. Let me see, 7 for the Sheriff's Department and 1 for our Facilities Department. We sent out bids, we advertised it. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what's wrong with our local dealers, but they just will not bid. I don't know. We got Fremont Motors of Rock Springs did bid, but the other car dealers will not. So in your packet, bid number 25-01 SD is for 2 full-size utility vehicles for the Sheriff's Department. These will be for the animal K9 units. We had requested 2 full-size utility vehicles. Fremont Chevrolet out of Riverton submitted a bid for a unit cost of $54,107 for a total of $108,214. They did specify on their bid. Unfortunately, we're still dealing with the manufacturers and will they get you a vehicle or not? It is subject to the manufacturer allocation at the time of the order. So Adam is who we deal with out of Fremont. He will let me know immediately if the manufacturer says sorry. And I've already spoken to Mr. Tomich and the sheriff about this, and we'll go back to the drawing board if they end up canceling our orders. So do you want to approve them as we go?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Any questions on the first vehicle bid award, commissioners? With Not an entertain a motion to approve bid 25-01 SD for the two full-size four-door utility police package vehicles in the amount of $108,214 to Fremont Chevrolet GMC out of Riverton. Motion by Commissioner Slaughter, second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion is
Um,
unanimous. Go ahead, Marty.
Sorry. Bid number 25-02 SD. This is for the 5 patrol vehicles for the sheriff's department. Just so the board knows, some of, I believe 2, and Joe, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, are going to be paid out of the Transwest Impact Funds as well. So we again received 1 bid from Fremont Motors of Rock Springs. This is for a quantity of 5, unit cost of $41,558 for a total of $207,790.
Thanks, Marty. Questions on this bid award? Not an entertain a motion to approve bid 25-02 SD for the 5 patrol utility vehicles in the amount of $207,790 to Fremont Motors of Rock Springs. Motion by Commissioner Richards.
Aye.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
And the last bid, excuse me, is 25-03 FM. This is a full-size high roof cargo van for the facilities department. In this van, they're going to put the racks to make it up for the guys when they go out and work on the HVAC units and that sort of thing, ladder racks. Again, we only received 1 bid from Fremont Motors of Rock Springs. And we're ordering 1 of these vans. The unit cost is $62,987. That's the only bid we received on that one as well.
Very good. Questions on this bid award, commissioners? Not, I'd entertain a motion to approve bid 25-03 FM for the full-size high roof cargo van with accessories in the amount of $62,987 to Fremont Motors of Rock Springs.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Yes, I would second that.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all is in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, Marty. Moving right along is item number 5 under tab D this morning. We've got the approval to purchase the VM and Object First backup solution for the county. With us this morning is IT Director Tim Knight. Morning, Tim.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. With our expansion to Microsoft 365 and due to the age of our current backup solution, we started evaluating different backup solutions. We engaged a value-added reseller to help us evaluate different solutions, and after evaluating 5 different solutions, we came up with the Veeam and Object First solution. And so just to keep everybody honest, we asked for quotes from the 4 resellers that we typically use. And then some of them included professional services, some didn't. We tried to get everybody together, and after talking with my team, I don't think we need the professional services, at least at the level that they're asking. I think we can do the installation, most of the setup, and we may reach out to them for a couple hours of help here and there. But so what I'd like to do is just remove that professional services line from this analysis that I put together. We currently spend $30,000 to $33,008 a year for our current backup solution. We budgeted $97,000 this year in the budget for this project. And looking at the different quotes, I believe that Advanced Network Management Inc. gives us the best price over the for this year and moving forward. And so I would ask the board to approve this purchase through Advanced Network Management or A&M this year, and then just to continue with this 3-year contract. And we'll probably continue with the Veeam solution moving forward for an indeterminate amount of time. So
Very good. Thanks, Tim. So if I understood you correctly, in the packet, it talks about including the professional services,
right,
excuse me, professional services, but now you're talking back those out.
yes,
So we'd have a reduction of, looks like
12,065 from A&M. So the total this year would be 95,128.91, which would put us under the budget and also allow for, I just think it's a better option for us.
Okay. Questions on this vendor purchase, commissioners? Not an entertain a motion to approve Advanced Network Management as a vendor to purchase the backup solution for the county in the amount of $95,128.91 as discussed.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Toman,
I would make that motion.
a motion by Commissioner Toman. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Moving right along, we've got item number 6, which is a request to appoint a special prosecutor. And at this time, I'd hand it over to Chief Deputy County Attorney, Mr. John DeLeon.
As you know, when the county attorney determines that there's a conflict or the potential for the appearance of a conflict, he submits a resolution to you. These require your consent. In this case, the Carbon County attorney has agreed to be special prosecutor in this case. There was an error in the resolution that was corrected. It did say at the bottom that it was the Sublette County. It's actually the Carbon County attorney. So this resolution is asking for your consent to have the Carbon County attorney be a special prosecutor in a case. As previously discussed, there's no compensation. The different county attorneys will do this for each other if they have the need for removing a conflict. That being said, we are asking for a motion to approve resolution 2410 CC02.
Thanks, John. Appreciate the background on that. Any questions on this request, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 24-10-CC-02, a resolution authorizing the appointment of a special prosecutor as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. For those that didn't know, Mr. DeLeon has been promoted into the chief deputy position. So special congratulations to that, John. Certainly appreciate all you do for us. Next on the agenda, we've got 2 items remaining here, still quite a bit ahead of schedule. So that's good for Gary. Item number 7 is a request for the approval of the letter of engagement for the contested case hearing. And good morning to you, HR Director McLean.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. You guys are doing a fine job of staying on task, so that's a word you know. Before we get started, let me just remind you, open enrollment's coming up. So some of you like to wait to the last minute. Please make sure that you get your open enrollment done and stop down if you need a hand doing that. So with that said, first order of business is a letter of engagement. As you know, periodically the county will need to conduct contested case hearings. This one's an employment contested case hearing. We have to have a hearing officer, an impartial hearing officer. We try to find hearing officers that are reasonably close. Obviously, it's difficult to get someone out of your home community that's not conflicted in one of many ways. So Mr. Mark Harris has agreed to conduct the hearing for us.
shouldn't be a long, like a one-day hearing. And apologize, a letter that had a typo in it that I sent, so I hope you have the corrected letter. But this letter just basically engages him to perform and conduct the hearing for both parties and then issue a ruling. And he'll coordinate with my office as far as scheduling rooms, payment of expenses.
Very good. Thanks, Gary. Any questions on this letter of engagement, commissioners? If not, then entertain a motion to approve the letter of engagement for the contested case hearing and allow the chairman to sign.
I'll move.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
I would be able to do that, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. The final item before you this morning is a request for the approval of the UMR General Exclusion Amendment, and we'll hand it back to HR Director Gary McLean.
Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners, this is another fun part of your job is all the amendments to health insurance contracts. A number of years ago, there was a movement to make mental health on the same footing as normal health care, called the Mental Health Parity Act. And prior to that, there were obviously a number of exclusions which made mental health treatment impractical or costly. So over time, that's been certain coverage and limits and things have been amended. And we try to keep those in alignment with the Mental Health Parity Act, keep our plan in all aspects of the plan in line with that. There were a couple items back when we approved the contract that were omissions that were omitted in there. I think that was more of a UMR oversight. And so what's before you are just the amendments, adding those items indicated to be included in the UMR contract that had been previously signed by the board. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to address those at this time.
Thanks, Gary. Any questions on these amendments, commissioners?
One thing I might add, it's kind of an interesting issue right now. They're in the community, and we'll be coming before the board with this later as we get more information. But there's increasingly more and more private mental health providers in the local market. And as you know, people mostly appreciate choice with things like that, to have somebody that you're working with or your child's working with, just like with healthcare. And the small providers, none of those small providers are in our network. Not that they couldn't be, but a lot of them are 2 people or 3 people, small companies. And so we're trying to find some solutions how to do that, so that 1, we don't pay an exorbitant amount of money, but 2, that we can afford people more choices, more providers come online. And so hopefully we have some solutions in the next month or so, how to bring that together. I think that's a real important part. It's like only having 1 doctor in the community, some people like it and some don't. If you get 3 or 4 people, are generally pretty happy. So it's the same kind of deal here. So we'll be coming back on this issue again. Mental health continues to be an important issue going forward.
No doubt. Any questions on the amendment before you? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve of the UMR General Exclusion Amendment and authorize the chairman to sign as presented. Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Thank you,
Gary. Appreciate it. Commissioners, with no further business to come before you, we are 30 minutes ahead of schedule. This meeting is adjourned.